Hi, welcome. Charis to you. This is 11 a.m., Friday, the 24th of April, 2026. A short while ago, I thought about a few different things, which I might as well talk about. I am not at peace. The fruits of the Spirit, of course, are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, um, and self-control. Peace is one of the fruits of the Spirit. If I don't have peace, does that mean I'm not walking in the Spirit? Certainly not. After all, our Lord walked into the temple, saw money changers, and violently upturned all their tables. Was that acting in peace? Certainly not. It was a just, godly disruption. He was disturbed by the sinful things that were going on in the temple as greedily attempting to make a profit from people seeking God is therefore sin. And I too have lost my peace. And I too have lost my peace over things that should be godly but are not. We're treating Christianity like Christmas. It is a story of Santa Claus more than it is a story of Christ. We all believe this. I've got to take we out of this and all. The great majority of people that call themselves Christians believe in Santa Claus. Sure, they might say, no, 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 I don't believe in Santa Claus. But not, I'm saying this figuratively, not literally. Because they believe in a Christ that is the all-saving Christ. Oh, whatever you do, Christ is there to save you. He forgives all sins for. So don't worry about it. Just go sin and then ask for forgiveness and all is right. Uh-uh. Sorry, if you think that, you're totally wrong. You should check my other messages. Being a Christian is all about seeking to walk a godly life, not about living your life the way it was, full of sin, and demanding God forgive you because of something he did that you simply don't understand. You're thinking of him like Santa Claus, as your gift giver, not your Lord, if that's you. And chances are it is the great majority of people. I was talking to a lady in the doctor's surgery a couple of days ago. And I did so because I have recently, over the last couple of weeks, changed my attitude to Christianity and evangelism, etc. You see, as I've mentioned in the last few messages, Mark 1:38, Jesus says that he came to preach, and if we're his disciples, then we're supposed to do what he did. We're supposed to go town to town. That's what he did. He went town to town, but we are more in a modern society committed to a certain area. Fine. Go street to street and preach the gospel. Deliver the good news. If you're not, well, you're not doing what he did. So, if you're not, technically, no matter what you say, you're not a Christian. You're merely believing in Santa Claus. You're merely believing in the fictitious, oh, I'm saved by the baby Jesus. Sorry, it's Jesus on the cross at the moment of death that brings salvation, not the wonderful baby Jesus. The weak, innocent things are the things that I look at, the nice things. It's all to do with mentality. Where's your brain at? You may think you understand, but if you're not willing to change, I expect you still simply don't understand. Look, seriously, so few people understand. I am relatively confident that I'm going to say this right now. Personally, I believe it's less than 1%. Okay? And that's out of people that call themselves Christians. Let me go back to this lady that I spoke to. So I walk into a doctor's surgery, sit down. Everybody's on their phones except for the lady that's near me. Great. In the modern world, you walk into a doctor's surgery, everyone's on their phone, full stop. They're all avoiding communication with you. Communication with a controllable device, not a problem. But they're not going to put themselves out there to communicate with somebody different. They don't know. So I created a conversation with this lady who, after a while, mentioned something and we began to talk about Christianity. And she said, yes, I'm a Christian. And I started talking about aspects of Christianity. And she had no idea. I used common verses and she did not know of them whatsoever. In fact, she told me how Um, she has only recently given up going to pubs and playing the pokies and drinking alcohol, etc. And she was very old, and the reason I could ascertain that she had given up is that she was just getting too old to be able to handle alcohol, etc. anymore. She didn't want to give it up. She just wasn't able to handle it anymore. Sure, a Christian by word, by the simple statement only, lip service. I'm a Christian because I say I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian because I was christened as a child. That makes me a Christian. They've got no idea of what it actually is. Let me get it out right now. What is a Christian? A Christian is one that follows in the way of Christ. We do what he does and we say what he said. And we do what he said. What did he do? What did he say? Again, it was constant preaching, one-on-one or in groups, expressing God at every chance, turning every conversation to God or godliness. Do we do that? No. So therefore, do I know any Christians? Maybe one or two on this planet, but basically, no. So out of people that call themselves Christians, how many are? 1%? It's probably being generous. So everyone that's listening to this, 99% of them will be saying, but I'm that 1%. 98% will be deceiving themselves. The Bible does say something about deceiving yourself. I don't recall where it is, what it is. I just, as I'm rambling on, I don't have any scriptures to go off because I haven't researched what I'm talking about. I just thought, well, this is on my mind. This is something that happened over the last couple of days, so I'll talk about that. The other thing on my mind was, where are you more likely at? I think there's three possibilities. Four, really. One, you don't believe in Christianity at all. And I want to reword that because, again, all the people that, oh, I'm a Christian because I was baptized or because I said a sinner's prayer once and I continued living my life exactly the same way, because I was christened as a baby, none of these things are Christianity. But everybody in the world considers those things Christianity. So therefore, I'm something other than a Christian because that doesn't describe me. I will describe myself as Yeshuan, which is maybe somewhat a Christian, excuse me, but beyond that, someone who actually follows in the way of Yeshua, that actually does what he did. So it's like saying, well, you've got Christians and you've got ministers. Ministers are Christians, but they are active. I'm a Yeshuan. A Yeshuan is a Christian, but a Yeshuan is an active Christian. And every person that believes in Christ is to be active, as the scriptures I mentioned before. So we've got four types of people: those who don't believe at all, and then we've got three types of believer, the ones that I've been talking about. Oh, I was christened as a child, so I believe that I'm a Christian. Okay. The believer without any foundation whatsoever. Then we've got still two more. We've got the believer who actually has read their Bible and um, knows pretty much what God requires of them. They know that you are living to produce that fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, which includes faithfulness and self-control. Faithfulness, well, if you're faithful to God, you're doing what he said. You're doing what Jesus did, preaching the gospel. So you don't have all the fruit if you're not doing the do's, which is also in Timothy, I think it is somewhere. Um, and self-control. If you're letting yourself go and do what you want to do rather than control yourself and do what God's called you to do, you're still outside what God's called. So, out of those last two, One of those is somebody that knows pretty much what the Bible is and what it is that is expected of them, but doesn't quite do it. They might be learning to do it, but they don't quite do it yet. They're not sitting down in the waiting room and saying to the person next to them, "Hey, how are you today?" Not all these people on their phones. Hasn't the world changed? Everybody wants to communicate with the internet and not with actual people anymore. What do you think about that? And then start looking for an opportunity to turn the conversation to God. I've never seen it. I did it a couple of days ago. I did it a couple of times, a few times. I did it twice and unsuccessfully because I didn't even get to the point of turning it to God before I was called for my appointment on another occasion. Though my attitude has now changed. I am now in the mindset that whenever I am with someone, to turn the conversation to God and godliness, or to create a conversation to take it to God and godliness. I'm not practiced in this yet, so I'm not good at it, nor do I remember it on every occasion, because it's hard to just start something and from that moment you're just automatically doing it for the rest of your life. No, you have to change your habits to slowly get into the process, not because it's a hard thing and you need to do it slowly. No, because we don't think of that automatically in every situation. We've got to learn to think of how do I create a godly conversation here? Okay, so there are the people that know the word and are not doing it, and the people that know and do and have a relationship with God. I've come to a new Greek prefixed word. Charis is the prefix, epignosis is the standard. So, charisepignosis. Charis, relationship with God. Epignosis is knowledge, specifically knowledge of the word. So, having a relationship with God assured by the knowledge of the word, by knowing that your relationship with God lines up with what the word says. Charisepignosis, something that we should all have. But out of those four people, those that don't believe, those that have no foundation but just think that they are because of some, christening as a child or the like, and the last two. One, living religiously, and the other living in relationship with God. Let's look at the one living religiously, because that's what I believe 99% of people are. It is not a relationship as much as it is a religion. Now, many Christians will say, look, I'm not religious. But why are you doing what you do? And how do you do what you do? If the how is a religious style, Oh, I do this in this form, this way, every day. That's being religious, even if it's a Christian thing or not, even if it's the way you get dressed. You do the exact thing every single day. You are getting dressed in a religious fashion because religion is a process of doing things, and usually a process of doing things to attain a higher level of knowledge of existence, of spirituality, or reaching God. It doesn't have to be. Again, you can be religious about the way you get dressed. You do the same thing every day. You know, you've got a same um, process of whatever it is in your life. That's living a religious life. Religion and people that demand adherence to the law, which is a very religious thing, are very much related to each other. Now, of course, we need to avoid sin, but avoiding sin and adhering to the law, are they the same thing? That's like saying being good and not speeding down the road is the same thing. Yeah, you can speak badly of people and not speed down the road. Abide by the law, but be a bad person. But you're still abiding by the law. Which one matters to God? Whether you abide by the law or who you are as a person. The law is a light upon sin. It shows us what sin is. The law in no way relieves sin. The law in no way forces you to drive below 60. The law says if you drive above 60 and are caught, you may get penalized. Well, the law in the Bible is, in a sense, very much the same. It is a pile of regulations that do not relate to the higher level of life. They do not give you relationship with God. Does a speed limit law give me a relationship with God? Nope. Does a speed limit law give me a relationship with the police that enforce it? No. Or the judge who charges you? Nope. Does the law do anything for you? Can the law save you? Nope. In fact, nobody can live by the law. A, that's what Jesus said. B, under the law, your sin is forgiven through animal sacrifice. You simply need to sacrifice to be saved. And that hasn't happened since the times of Jesus. And the reason being, the temple was destroyed. And other than that, he, as far as God is concerned and Christianity is concerned, he was the ultimate sacrifice for sin. Under his sacrifice, there is no need for sacrifice anymore. But the law still requires sacrifice because the law hasn't changed. So are you living by the law or are you living in Charisepignosis? Relationship with God under the knowledge of the New Testament standing, the New Testament relationship, the New Testament connection to God. One where sin was not dealt with, but paid for? Or are you living under legalism? Oh, I must do A, B, C. I must worship on a Saturday. I must tell people that tithes are wrong because under the law, tithes were giving food and therefore Christian pastors are wrong, etc. Well, sure. But you're still looking at the Old Testament and the law, and you're still valuing that above the sacrifice of Christ. And you're living legalistically, religiously, especially as you are treating it as a process rather than a relationship. The epignosis might somewhat be there, but the charis certainly isn't. You don't have a relationship with God? Well, you don't comprehend the importance of that? You're saying the law is more important than Christ? Because if you're putting valuation on the religious aspects of the law, to do this on this day in this way, you're denying Christ. And sin is, if you have a relationship with God and you are living by charisepignosis, in that case, sin is totally out of the question, not because of the law, but because you are seeking God in your life, in your heart. And if your mind, soul, heart are all focusing on God, well, you're not thinking of going and taking drugs or going and getting drunk or going and hurting your neighbor or going and stealing or whatever else. Because it's not all about me and what I get and what I want. No, it's about God and about talking to those people in that waiting room about God. That's what he did. That's what we do. So that's what a Yeshuan does. Like a minister, rather than a mere Christian, a minister is a Christian in a role. A Yeshuan is what I'm going to start calling it anyway, because I need to identify another role within Christianity. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to change the Bible. No. Did the Catholics change the Bible by adding a group of people called the Jesuits? No. But they were a particular kind of priest. Um, so there's no change here. And it's not an addition as in an addition to the Bible. Does Amazing Grace, the song, add to the Bible? No, it's outside the Bible. Does it praise and worship God? Absolutely. Is it a good thing in Christianity? Absolutely. Though it doesn't affect Scripture. Same thing. This concept to have a duality, a relationship with God and an understanding of the word, charisepignosis, is therefore the goal. Is it yours? The great majority of people, I must say, have very little idea. Is that bad? Well, no, it just means that somebody's got to stand up and start teaching the difference between not believing, believing merely because of some minor thing that you still know nothing about God and the Bible, or believing that you're going to work your way there, or believing because you know the word epignosis and you have that relationship, charisepignosis. Okay? So, as always, rate the message. As always, if it's good, pass it on. As always, bless you, govern well, charis to you.